Hey everybody, it's Candy, aka Brown Eye Girl 69. And today is August 22nd at 2026, approximately 10:20 p.m. I decided to come back and finish up on my story that I was sharing with everybody earlier. Well, it's still kind of fresh in my mind. For some reason, the video cut off, and I'm not for sure why, because I know that I was continuing my story and I gave one last puff pass basically before I ended the video. That was all cut off. So something happened. Anyways, at the very end of that video, I was talking about how Daryl and I had met this lady named KT. Um, KT had a boyfriend. KT was 420 friendly. KT also had a condominium over in Mission Beach, which was on the other side of the bay from Ocean Beach. Mission Beach is where SeaWorld is. Mission Beach also has like a boardwalk, kind of like Venice Beach, all up and down California coasts. There's several beach towns that have boardwalks. Mission Beach is the one that has a roller coaster. I'm not for sure if the roller coaster is a loop-de-loo one or if it's just a regular up and down kind of one, you know. But because Daryl and I never rode the roller coaster while we were there. But anyways, so KT uh, was a mom of, let me see how many kids. She had the older son, then she had the daughter, then she had the other son, then she had another daughter, then she had a son. So she had 3 boys and 2 girls. Her youngest son at the time was the only one living at home, and he was 15. It was a little 2-bedroom cottage. I think it was like one full bath, and I think it had like a quarter bath in the mudroom, which was off on the side of the house before you got to the garage. Anyway, she told us that we could, well, I met her. I developed a friendship with her going to these weekly uh, Ocean Beach business owner meetings. And even though I didn't, quote, own my own business, I was promoting my husband's business of being a guitarist as well as him being a guitar instructor. Um, we were just trying to make connections wherever we could, you know? So, over a course of, I started going to these meetings, I guess it was like around the beginning of March. So, for about 4 weeks, and then one day she met up with me and gave me a little bit of money and some 420 product and told me that they were going to have a 420 get together and a cookout and that Daryl and I was invited. And she even had her address on there and already had her phone number. So Daryl and I were like, cool, we'll go to this gathering on 420. So life rolled on in Ocean Beach. 420 rolled around. We were excited. She told us to show up like 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and the festivities would continue through the evening. So we showed up there. They had hamburgers, hot dogs that they were going to cook out. Plenty of 420 material. Plenty of beverages, sodas, water. I think they even had beer, maybe some wine. She'd invited quite a handful of her friends, plus she had all the kids, and the kids had their friends. So it was a pretty big gathering, you know. But she kind of pulled me aside before the end of the evening and told me that she was going to let me and Daryl stay the night there if we wanted, and that we could take a shower and use her washer and dryer and all that. So I thought that was a very sweet gesture. So we said, of course, well, thank you for the offer, you know. So everybody left the party. Daryl and I was there. We went inside. I was able to, take a shower, wash our clothes. It was KT. I think all the kids was there, uh, sitting around watching a movie inside. And then the older kids left, so then it was just us, KT, and the youngest boy. And she asked us if we'd be willing to stay more than one night because her and the kids had talked about it when we were in the shower and everything. And they just thought it would be a nice sentiment to help us out. So we agreed. And we agreed that if there ever became a problem with us staying there, that we'd be more than willing to get up and leave and, go back out on the street. It was like no big deal, right? So we made an agreement that we would be there through Mother Day weekend. And as the days and uh, time start progressing, she said she really wanted to help us out in multiple ways. And she, throughout this whole time, she was asking us, where's your next stop? Or what do you want to do? How long do you want to be there? Et cetera, et cetera. And we basically just told her that we were, and this was the thing that we told her that we had been basically thinking of and thinking on since March of 2014. And here we are, like in May of 2015, May 2015. So for a good year, we had been thinking on trying to get to a place where we could pitch a tent, a place where nobody was going to bother us, a place where the cops would leave us alone, a place where we could make money, have public transportation, a place to clean ourselves as well as our clothes. And basically, just a chance to live life on our terms. And that's what we were searching for. She gives us a tent. This tent's huge. I mean, it was too much for Daryl and I. But we took it, in the beginning because I don't really think we realized how big it was. But it was a decent sized tent. And I was thinking it was a four-manner, maybe even a sixer. But I think it was definitely a four-manner. And then she gave us a couple decent sized, nice sleeping bags. What else did she give us? She gave us some wheat, 420 product. She gave us some money. That was pretty much it. Now, she also gave Daryl and I a weekend in her condominium, because the condominium was her mother's, and she actually lived there as a teenage gal, I guess. And her mother passed on, and KT then owned it and cleaned it up basically and made it like a little Airbnb. She rented it out before Airbnbs were a thing. So she rented it out and she didn't have it booked for this specific time frame that she let Daryl and I stay there. And I think we stayed there 2 days, 2 nights. And it was over a weekend. And so we got to be in Mission Beach. We got to walk around down on the boardwalk. We got to watch the sunset from a balcony. Watch the waves roll in. Sit out on the balcony. That's what we did a lot of. We sat out on the balcony and just watched the people down on the boardwalk, watched the waves. got to take in the smell of the salt air and watch the sunset, you know. Um, had a nice bed to sleep in. Had a really nice shower. We could have taken a jacuzzi, but something was wrong with it. She told us to not use it, so we didn't. And but the shower was really nice because it like went down a step, but it was huge, and it was all like it had like a stone type floor, but it was tiled in, and the tile was like this really pretty blue color. And a rain shower head. It was just so refreshing. Really nice kitchen. She had everything set up, for someone to have a really nice weekend there and be comfortable with all the luxuries that she had available to offer. She had board games, cards, so Daryl and I played. There was TV. We turned it on just for background, watch a movie, whatever. But at least we were given that gift by KT. KT also had a little dog named Miss Evie, but Miss Evie has now passed on. A couple of years ago, I think 2, 3 years ago, she passed on. That's the little dog that was in the picture of me and Daryl. Um. So anyway, she gives us all these things. Mother's Day weekend. So we basically went back out onto the streets of Ocean Beach with money in our pocket. We didn't let anybody know. We had plenty of goods, everything we needed. We started slowly letting people, our friends in the community, know that we were getting ready to leave as soon as we could find a ride out of there heading north. And that we were actively searching online for that ride. And that as soon as a ride came available, that we were going to be gone. So we had this one friend, his name was Kidman. He gave us, I don't know how much it was, a few grams of some hash. And he also gave us a pretty big bottle of some Dr. Bronner's uh, hemp soap. I think it was the peppermint kind. I'll tell you what, that's very invigorating. Uh, let's see. He gave us that. Some other friends gave us some stuff. Um, but we had somebody answer one of our ads. I think it was through Craigslist or one of the Rainbow Rideshare groups. And it was a young kid, and he had a female mama dog, and she had 5 puppies. And she took us, he picked me and Daryl up in San Diego, or they're in Ocean Beach. He came to us. He, I think, lived around the San Diego area. And he was heading to Mount Shasta. We had already heard that Mount Shasta was this very beautiful, spiritual, serene place. And one of the chakras of the earth. So we were like, cool, let's go. I think he only charged us $65. We headed out. This was like on, I believe, May 12th. We headed out. So we'd already been away from KT's for about 3 days. We headed out. We drove all the way to, where did we drive? But basically, I think we drove just past the San Francisco Sacramento turnoff. Because if you were going to San Francisco, you were going to go this direction. If you were going to Sacramento, you were going to go this direction. And we kept heading north on I-5. And we came to a rest stop. Had really nice bathrooms. We got out, we let the dogs out, tried to rearrange a few things. Daryl and I was kind of sitting underneath this tree, and the guy that was with us, we had all of our stuff. We took all of our gear because Daryl didn't trust anybody. He didn't want this kid pulling out overnight with all of our stuff. So we took all of our gear out of the car. But because we did that, we were able to repack the car. Because trust me, this car was jam packed. Okay, so we go to sleep for a few hours and we wake up the next morning. He's still there. We're like, yay. We repacked the car and everything, get going. And I think it was probably within a couple hours we were getting to Mount Shasta. I'll tell you what, when we rolled around through those mountains that were snow covered, snow capped, still in May, middle of May, it was just very beautiful, very serene, very breathtaking. Hard to describe, you know. So we get into town right there in Mount Shasta, and there was like a grocery store. There was like a couple of. There was a Black Bear Diner. There was a Burger King. Oh, there was a Ray's. That was the grocery store. That's what it was. I think there was another outlet store, convenience store of some sort, all in this one little area. So we decide to go there first, and we are hungry. We're famished, so we go to Burger King. And lo and behold, when we walk into Burger King, who do we see? We see one of our friends that we had met in Ocean Beach and his dog Tanker. Well, Tanker girl, Tanky, I called her Tanker. She was this like American, she looked like a bulldog, but a pit bulldog. I have pictures of her. I'll have to post. She was really cute. Really, really good dog. Colton was who owned her. So we walked into Colton, met up with Colton and Tanker. And he had been there for a while. And so he was basically trying to tell us where we could go to go camp out, giving us a couple of directions. And then the next thing we did was we went across the street to Ray's uh, grocery store and bought some supplies. Um, and then we were on our way. And then we get out to this place, and it was called Twin Arrows. And it was out by this other place called the Buddha Hole. And I think that's really close to another place called Fairy Springs. That's where we camped out. We found, we didn't really think it out though, because there was the main road and we could see the main road, um, not too far from where we set up. We didn't really like search out a place to set up. All Daryl wanted to do was set up, and this place was big enough for the tent. It had a fire pit already right there. We had a road right there. Um, a little path that walked a little further into the woods and down closer to the creek, river, whatever it was. Um, so that's where we set up. The kid that brought us up there, he didn't have a tent, but he just slept in the back after rearranging a few things. He might have had a tent. He might have set up a little small tent. Then we started meeting a couple other people that was in the area set up down the way. So it was kind of cool. There was like a little small community of a few people out there. So we weren't completely alone. We stayed out there for, I guess, a couple of weeks, and we realized we weren't even out there 2 weeks yet. I think we were out there maybe 10 days. And we realized we needed to get into town and break down our camp and get into town because our supplies was low. We basically had no water. We had tried to hitchhike into town a couple of times, and finally I asked one of the people in the community, I'm like, hey, look, you're our last hope. All we need is a ride into town. I'll give you whatever you want. I think we had a little bit of money left. We bartered and traded with them and haggled so we could get our stuff, our gear, and us into town. Then we were going to try to hitchhike out of there, but that didn't work. So we wound up staying another night in town, ran into somebody else that started talking to us about Ashland, Oregon. That was on our mind. And then they told us about the blue bus that would get us from Mount Shasta to Wairika for only like $4. And it would be going through the small town of Weed, California. So we're like, okay, let's go for it. So this kid gave us a lot of information and where we could go in Ashland, Oregon when we got there. He gave us directions and names of places where we would know the locations he was talking about were correct. He gave us landmarks and everything. We wrote it down. I did. I think he gave us some stones and Daryl rolled him up some smokes. And then we were on our way. Um, we got on that blue bus, rolled all the way up to Wairika, Cali, got dropped off there at the Walmart, immediately ran into the homeless crowd out in the parking lot. And this one couple said, y'all just got into town? We're like, yeah. And they're like, what are y'all going to do? Where are you going to go? We're like, we don't know. And they're like, well, if you want to get a hotel room or something, we can tell you how to get a hotel room. And we're like, as long as it's not illegal, or no. There's this place down the way here that helps people. All you got to do is just go in there and tell them that you've been on the street for X amount of time, that you haven't had a shower in X amount of time, and that you need a good night's rest, and they'll pay for you a hotel room. And we're like, really? And they're like, yeah. And we're like, okay. So we went to this place they told us, and sure enough, we got us a voucher for a free hotel room down the way at this other hotel, or at this hotel. But we had to walk down there. And then we got there, got a room. It was pretty cool. Was able to get out, get some food, get some rest, and then gear up for the next day, which was going to be a day hitchhiking for sure. And that is the day that we got picked up. I talked about this on hitchhiking journey stories. That was the day that we got picked up. Uh, Daryl called it immediately, but I was unawares. And that was the day we got picked up and brought into Ashland, Oregon. My next video will be about Ashland, Oregon. What happened from the moment we arrived there, and stories about what it was like living there, and experiences and events. We were there from June of 2015 until basically March of 2017, and then we came back in September of 2017 and was there until January of 2018. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening to my stories. Thanks for allowing me a space where I can share all my life experiences with people from all walks of life. Some people have never experienced some of the things I've experienced in life, just like There's some things other people have done that I've never done, you know? But I think it's what makes the world go round. I think having different types of experiences and learning different perspectives from those experiences and growing within yourself because of those experiences, it's a beautiful thing. Life is beautiful if you just look around and take the time to really truly see what matters in this life. And I'm going to tell you right now, what truly matters in this life isn't all sparkly gold and silver. Um, the true things that matter in this life are things that money can't buy. Those things are what truly matter. And those things are out in this world. And they come from different people and different places and different spaces. And sometimes they come unexpectedly, right when you need them to. So, with that being said, I'm going to say peace, love, hugs, nugs. And until the next time, I'm literally out. Have a good night, guys.